Shalom, shalom, shalom. Welcome to this channel, Baruch haba b'Shem Yahuwah. And today I'm going to do part 4 of the in-depth study series, Love Not the World. And the title for part 4 today is Crucified Unto Me. Alright, separation to Yahuwah. Separation from the world is the first principle of a believer's living. The book of John, in his revelation of Yahushua Mashiach, was shown two irreconcilable extremes, two worlds that morally were poles apart. He was first carried away in the spirit into a wilderness to see Babylon, mother of the harlots and of the abominations of the earth. See the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 3. Then he was carried away in the same spirit to a great and high mountain, whence to view Jerusalem, the bride, the Lamb's wife. Revelation 21 verse 10. The contrast is clear and could hardly be more explicitly stated. Whether we be a Moshe or a Balaam, in order to have Yahuwah's view of things, we must be taken like John or Yahukanon to a mountain top. Many cannot see Yahuwah's eternal plan. Why? First and foremost, because they are ill-informed and ill-taught. That's one of the main reasons why they can't see Yahuwah's plan. Or if they see it, they understand it only as dry as dust doctrine. And they are content to stay on the plains, stay on the plains. For understanding never moves us. Only revelation does that. From the wilderness we may see something of Babylon, but we need spiritual revelation to see Yahuwah's new Jerusalem. See it once, and we shall never be the same. As believers, therefore, we bank everything on that opening of the eyes. But to experience it, we must be prepared to forsake the common levels and climb. The harlot Babylon is always the so-called great city. Revelation 16 verse 19, with the emphasis on her attainment of greatness. Well, is she great? Actually not, because the greatness of Babylon is nothing more than puffed upness. So great? No, it's a false type of greatness. The bride Jerusalem is by contrast the holy city, with the accent correspondingly on her separation to the Most High Yahuwah. She is from Yahuwah, and is prepared for her husband, Yahuwah. For this reason, she possesses the glory of the Most High Yahuwah. This is a matter of experience for us all. Holiness in us is what is of the Most High Yahuwah. What is holy set apart to Mashiach Yahusha? It follows the rule that only what originated in heaven returns there. For nothing else is holy. Exactly. And all the holiness here on earth, the fake holiness that we see around us, has nothing to do with true holiness coming from the Most High Yahuwah. Let go this principle of holiness, and we are instantly in Babylon. Thus it comes about that the wall is the first feature John or Yahuchanan mentions in his description of the city itself. There are gates making provision for the goings of Yahuwah, but the wall takes precedence. For I repeat, separation is the first principle of a believer's living. If Yahuwah wants his city with its measurements and its glory in that day, then we must build that wall in human hearts now. And that means this wall between us and the world, between our heart and the world. This means in practice that we must guard as precious all that is of Yahuwah the Most High, and refuse and reject all that is of Babylon. So that also means with technology, that you are very careful with what you bring into your home, if it is all about technology, because technology, people, was never there for our benefit. It is a weapon used against us. I do not imply by this a separation between believers. We dare not exclude our brethren themselves. No, we shouldn't do. Even when we cannot take part in some of the things they do. No, we must love and receive our fellow believers. But the uncompromising in our separation from the world in principle. Nehemiah in his day succeeded in rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem, but only in the face of great opposition, for Satan hates distinctiveness. Separation of man to the Most High Yah, he cannot abide. Nehemiah and his colleagues armed themselves, therefore, and thus equipped for war, they laid stone to stone. This is the price of holiness we must be prepared for. And to be very honest, I think that many believers are not prepared enough for what is about to come, and are still too much clinged into worldliness. For build we certainly must. Eden was a garden without artificial wall to keep foes out. So Satan had entry. Yahuwah intended that Adam and Eve should guard it. Well, unfortunately, that failed. Genesis 2 verse 15. They themselves constituting a moral barrier to him. Today, through Mashiach Yahusha, Yahuwah plants in the heart of his redeemed people an Eden to which, in triumphant fact, Satan will at last have no moral access whatsoever. There shall in no wise enter into it anything unclean, or he that maketh an abomination and a lie, but only they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. Revelation 21 verse 27. Most of us would agree that to the disciple Paul was given a special revelation of the assembly of Yahuwah. In a similar way, we feel that Yahuwah gave to Yahuchanan or John a special understanding of the nature of the world. Cosmos is in fact peculiar, sometimes peculiar, peculiar, thank you, John's word. It is early in the morning, sorry. The other writings use it only 15 times. In the book of Matthew, even 9. Mark and Luke 3 times each, while Paul has it 47 times in 8 letters. But John uses 805 times in all, 78 in his writings, 24 in his epistles, and a further 3 in the book of Revelation. In his first epistle, John writes, all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the vain glory of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. In these words that so clearly reflect the temptation of Eve, book of Genesis 3:6, John divines the things of the world, all that can be included under lust or primitive desire, all that excites greedy ambition, and all that arouses in us the pride or glamour of life. All such things are part of the satanic system. Perhaps we scarcely need stay here to consider further the first 2 of these. But let us look for a moment at the third. Everything that stirs up pride in us is of the world. Prominence, wealth, achievement, these the world acclaims. Men are justly proud of success. And that's what you see, because you can't do anything these days without being confronted by the world that you need to be successful, you need to have a well-filled bank account, and so on. Every success, therefore, that we experience, and I am not suggesting that we should be failures, but every success, therefore, that we experience calls in us for an instant humble confession of its inherent sinfulness, success is connected to sin. For whenever we meet success, we have in some degree touched the world system. Whenever we sense complacency over some achievement, we may know at once that we have touched the world. We may know too that we have brought ourselves under the judgment of Yahuwah. For have we not already agreed that the whole world is under judgment? Now, those who realize this and confess their need are thereby safeguarded. But the trouble is, how many of us are aware of it? Exactly. And that is the same with, for instance, when people upload things on their social platforms, many of the times they are at least 4 times a day watching how many views they have and blah blah. That's also a worldly thing, and actually is also has to do with this sin connected to success. But the trouble is how many of us are aware of it. Even those of us who live our lives in the seclusion of our own private homes are just as prone to fall prey to the pride of life as those who have great public successes. A woman in a humble kitchen can touch the world and its complacency, even while cooking the daily meal or entertaining guests. Every glory that is not glory to the Most High Yahuwah is vain glory. And it is amazing what paltry successes can produce vain glory. Wherever we meet pride, we meet the world, and there is an immediate leakage in our fellowship with the Most High Yahuwah. Oh, that the Most High Yahuwah would open our eyes to see clearly what the world is. Not only evil things, but all those things that draw us ever so gently away from the Most High Yahuwah. Are units of that system that is completely antagonistic to Him. Satisfaction in the achievement of some legitimate piece of work has the power to come instantly between us and Yahuwah Himself. For if it is the pride of life and not the praise of Yahuwah that it awakens in us, we can know for certain that we have touched the world. There is thus a constant need for us to watch and pray if we are to maintain our communion with Yahuwah unsullied. What then is the way of escape from this snare which the devil has set to catch Yahuwah's people? First, let me say emphatically that it is not to be found by our running away. Many think we can escape the world, but that's absolute an illusion. By seeking to abstain from the things of the world, there are many people who claim that they need to live off-grid, so to speak. Is that possible? No, it's not, because they can already track and trace you wherever you are, no matter if you have a bank account or bank card with you, your passport with you, doesn't matter. They can track and trace you already. That was actually the main theme of this whole series, the Born Identity, in which Satan showed us that he already can track and trace us. So in every movement, and is that the solution, living off-grid? No, because these people are quite hypocritical actually, because then they say that they live off-grid, and in the meantime they have a YouTube channel in which they are highly proud to show how they can live off-grid and be self-sustainable and blah blah blah. But if you truly want to live off-grid life, that means that you give up everything. So that means that you don't have a YouTube channel in which you show how nice it is to live off-grid. You don't have anything of technology in your life. You are completely on your own. But what I see is that so many people think that by living off-grid, living in tiny houses, that they then prepare for the last days, you know, and that they are safe there and being self-sustainable and so on. If you, and this is what Yahuwah has learned me the last few months, self-sustainable means being on yourself. That means that you are not depending yourselves in trust on the Most High Yahuwah to take care of you. So all these people have no preparation at all. They do not understand what preparing yourself for the end days is. The biggest preparation is laid in the spiritual realm, not in the physical realm. And it means that you make sure that you have turned yourselves back to the Most High Yahuwah, that you have done your repentance, that you have done your correct immersion in the name of Yahuwah Yahushua Mashiach Elohim, and then that you actually are living in the ways of righteousness that Yahuwah the Most High wants you to live by. So being self-sufficient, living off-grid, living in tiny houses, that is not the way you prepare yourself for the things to come. You can't escape this world. That is what the children of the fallen ones still think, of generation after generation. That is why they have all these so-called space programs, because everything is based on saving their own ass and trying to escape this world. So there is no escape, people, possible from this world. And the children of the fallen ones, they can't escape either, but they do not accept that, and they are for eons busy to find an exit door to escape. And now they have come into a state in which they have said for themselves, well, if we can't escape, then we will make sure that they, the rest of us humans, also can't escape. And the children of the fallen seed has said, well, if we need to die here on this forsaken, in their opinion, forsaken piece of land called earth, then we will make sure that they, with whom we have to live with on this forsaken piece of land called earth, in their opinion, then we will do that they also shall not survive. So that is also the main thing behind all these space programs. Many think we can escape the world by seeking to abstain from the things of the world. That is folly. How could we ever escape the world system by using what, after all, are little more than worldly methods? Let me remind you of Yahushua's words in Matthew 11 verse 18 and 19. John came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, He hath a devil. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Behold, a gluttonous man and a winebibber, a friend of publicans and sinners. Some think that John the Baptist here offers us a recipe for escape from the world. But neither eating nor drinking is not what is in the alignment of a believer's life. There is a point in this which I have my questions about. It is said Yahushua came both eating and drinking, and that is what a believer's life is. Well, I'm not completely agree with that, because eventually we will go to a phase in which we are going to experience that the need for food and drinking will slowly become lesser. That all has to do with the more you walk in the Spirit, the lesser need you have of food and something to drink. But that's a process, and that all has to do with the growth of your spiritual humanness. The disciple Paul speaks of the elements of the world, and he defines these as handle not, nor taste, nor touch. Colossians 2 verse 20 and 21. So abstinence is merely worldly and no more. And what hope is there by using worldly elements of escaping the world system? Yet how many earnest believers are forsaking all sorts of worldly pleasures in the hope thereby of being delivered out of the world. You can build yourself a hermit's hut in some remote spot and think to escape the world by retiring there. But the world will follow you even as far as that. It will dog your footsteps and find you out no matter where you hide. That's exactly what I said. So all those people, and it doesn't matter if you think to live in a cave, no one knows it, you do not inform anyone about it. The system knows where you are. The system shall find you. And what shall the system do? Or it tries to enforce you back, or it makes your life harsher by attacking you in all ways. Our deliverance from the world begins not with our giving up this or that, but with our seeing, as with Yahuwah's eyes, that it is a world under sentence of death, as in the figure with which we opened this chapter. Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. Revelations 18 verse 2. Now a sentence of death is always passed not on the dead but on the living. And in one sense the world is a living force today, relentlessly pursuing and seeking out its subjects. But while it is true that when sentence is pronounced, death lies still in the future, it is nevertheless certain. A person under sentence of death has no future beyond the confines of a condemned cell. Likewise, the world being under sentence has no future. The world system has not yet been wound up, as we say, and terminated by the Most High Yahuwah. But the winding up is a settled matter. It makes all the difference to us that we see this. Some folk seek deliverance from the world in asceticism, and like the Baptists neither eat nor drink. That today is Buddhism, not Christianity. As believers, we both eat and drink. Well, what I say, eventually we will become doing that lesser and lesser. The more you grow into your spiritual humanness, you will more and more find out that the more you live from your spiritual humanness, and thus the more you walk your spiritual path, in the spirit, the more you will discover that food is actually a hindrance. And this is what you are going to experience if you do on regular basis fastings. If you do on regular basis fastings, you are going to start walking more and more in the spirit. And the spirit doesn't need food nor drink. So eventually, after a long period, you are going to see that as soon as you start to eat again, you are far more tired. You fall far more into the flesh again. You get more weird thoughts and so on. This is something you only experience if you do on regular basis fasting, and not just for a day but for several days, and that on regular basis. And if you do so, you will discover that the more you are going to walk in and through your spirit, that when you walk from your spirit and in spirit, that food is actually a hindrance. And I discover it myself. I do on regular basis fastings, and the interesting part I see is that as soon as I can eat, and if I eat, I only eat light things. My hunger for very heavy food disappeared. I do not eat heavy food anymore, and actually the most interesting part of it all is that I discovered that as soon as I eat again, I'm far more tired. I have far more problems to come out of bed. I notice in my thought process that I experience more weird thoughts, and also more feelings of rushness, but also restlessness and so on. So I also discovered that if you do on regular basis fasting, your taste buds, they will become more cleansed, and due to that you start to taste the chemicals in the food better. So a lot of food I do not eat anymore because of the chemicals that are in it, and it's really bizarre to taste chemicals in the food. And I can tell you that is a weird experience, but also it is a way of realizing and coming to the conscious realization that we are eating no food anymore. The food, what we call food, is no longer food anymore. It's synthetic. It's hybridized. It's genetically mutated. It's genetically engineered food. That what you call food is no longer food anymore. You can't call it food anymore. Fruit, for years I already experienced that fruit doesn't taste anymore. It's watery. It has no taste, nothing in it. So the more you fast on regular basis, the often you do that, you will discover that eventually the hunger for food starts to disappear, because you're walking more and more and more in your spirit, in the spirit. And the more you start to walk in the spirit, the lesser need for food. So I'm not agree with here is being said, and I know that eventually when we are going to lose the flesh, and that time will come, and I hope soon, actually, it would be nice, then we do not drink anymore. Because I know that in the heavens, the messengers, or for many known as angels, they do not eat, nor drink, nor sleep. They have eternal life. They have their moments of rest, but it's not as what we see as rest. So I'm not completely agree with is said here in this piece of text. But we do so in the realization that eating and drinking belong to the world, and with it are under the death sentence, so they have no grip on us. And eventually food shall lose its grip, as I say, if you start to walk more and more in the spirit. Let us suppose that the municipal authorities of Shanghai should agree that the school where you are employed must be closed. As soon as you hear this news, you realize there is no future for you in that school. You go on working there for a period, but you do not build up anything for the future there. Your attitude to the school changes the instant you hear it must close down. Or, to use another illustration, suppose the government decides to close a certain bank. Will you hasten to deposit in it a large sum of money in order to save the bank from collapse? No, not a cent more do you pay into it once you hear it has no future. You put nothing in because you expect nothing from it. And we may justly say of the world that it is under a decree of closure. Babylon fell when her champions made war with the Lamb, and when by his death and resurrection he overcame them. He who is the Master of masters, the King of kings. Revelation 17 verse 14. There is no future for her. A revelation of the stake of Mashiach Yahusha involves for us the discovery of this fact, that through it everything belonging to the world is under sentence of death. We still go on living in the world and using the things of the world, but we can build no future with them, for the stake has shattered all our hope in them. The stake of the Master Yahusha Mashiach, we may truly say, has ruined our prospects in the world. We have nothing to live for there. And that is something we need to come to realization. There is no true way of salvation from the world that does not start from such a revelation. We need only try to escape the world by running away from it to discover how much we love it. Because the more distance you create between you and the world, the more you will experience how you have become addicted to it. So this is something we need to come to the realization, that everything is under judgment. This whole world, no matter what it is, every product you buy has come unto judgment. We may flee where we will to avoid it, but it will assuredly track us down. But we inevitably lose all interest in the world, and that is the thing. The more you lose interest in the world, that is also a sign that you are more and more becoming detached of the world. And it loses its grip on us as soon as it dawns upon us that the world is doomed. Everything that we have come accustomed to in this world is about to fall and shall never come back. The world is coming into the great day of judgment, and eventually everything will collapse, and everything, the whole earth, will set on fire. So all those people who think in and who have come to believe that they are in 5D and whatsoever, that's a lie. You are still on earth. You're not in 5D. That's a lie that the New Age teachings have fooled you in. And all those people who think that next year or the year after the next year we all will be in paradise, you are also being fooled. And that is a lie too. That's an illusion. So step out of it and come to the reality. If you don't come to the reality, your life becomes harsher and harsher the coming periods. To see that is to be severed automatically from Satan's entire economy. At the end of this letter to the Galatians, Paul stated this very clearly. Far be it from me to glory, save in the stake of our Master Yahushua Mashiach, through which the world hath been crucified unto me, and I unto the world. Have you noticed something striking about this verse? In relation to the world, it speaks of the two aspects of the work at the cross already hinted, or at the stake, I mean. It was not a cross, it was a stake. So it speaks of the two aspects of the work at the stake already hinted at in our last chapter. I have been crucified unto the world is a statement which we find fairly easy to fit into our understanding of being crucified with Mashiach, Yahushua, as divined in such passages as Romans 6. But here it specifically says to, that the world has been crucified to me. When Yahuwah comes to you and me with the revelation of the finished work at the stake, he not only shows us ourselves there at the stake, he shows us our world there too. If you and I cannot escape the judgment of the stake, then neither can the world escape the judgment of the stake. Have I really seen this? That is the question. When I see it, then I do not try to repudiate a world I love. I see that the stake has repudiated it. I do not try to escape a world that clings to me. I see that by the stake I have escaped. Like so much else in the life of a believer, the way of deliverance out of the world comes as a surprise to most of us, for it is so at odds with all of man's natural concepts. Man seeks to solve the problem of the world. Well, man is never able to solve the problem of the world and wasn't able to do so in the first place. The only one who can do so is Yahuwah the Most High. So by removing himself physically from what he regards as the danger zone, but physical separation does not bring about spiritual separation, and the reverse is also true. That physical contact with the world does not necessitate spiritual capture by the world. Spiritual bondage to the world is a fruit of spiritual blindness, and deliverance is the outcome of having our eyes opened. However close our touch with the world may be outwardly, we are released from its power when we truly see its nature. The essential character of the world is satanic, and that is exactly what most people do not want to see or willful ignore. Many people, too many people, I would say, are turning their heads and pretend that there's nothing going on, and they live on further, keep themselves in the lie and in the strong delusion that everything is okay, and okay, we still can do our groceries, buying our groceries, and as long as we are still able to do so, we ignore what is happening. That's the biggest mistake you can make. It is at enmity with the Most High Yahuwah. To see this is to find deliverance, Let me ask you, what is your occupation? A merchant? A doctor? Do not run away from these callings. Simply write down, trade is under the sentence of death. Write, medicine is under the sentence of death. If you do that in truth, life will be changed for you hereafter, in the midst of a world under judgment for its hostility toward Yahuwah, the Most High. You will know what it is to live as one who truly loves and fears the Most High Yahuwah. Wow. With this said, I have come to the end of part 4, and it is an interesting, in-depth teaching, although there are once in a while things that I'm having a different idea about, because I see along the way that the more I live from the Spirit, the things that I see changes. So there are some things in it I'm not completely agree with, because due to the changements I'm going under, and due to that I start to have seen the things differently. All right, let the words you have heard sink into your heart, and ask the Most High Yahuwah for more clarification. And I wish you all a Baruch day, and do not forget to praise the Most High Yah. And I say as last, Baruch haba b'shem Yahuwah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Baruch Yahuwah, Baruch Yahuwah, Baruch Yahuwah. And see you soon.